Eternal Father, you know our needs even before we ask you. We lift this council and all the employees of Washougal before you so you can provide them with every grace and help that they need to always serve you and all Washougal citizens by relying on your gifts of wisdom. We pray especially for your gift of clarity, that your blessings and benefits may be maximized through these city leaders, having the necessary information to make the best possible decisions and to avoid all consequences resulting from any unseen hazards. We thank you for all the blessings you have given to us and for all those you will continue to bring. Amen.
Please join us in the pledge. Rose, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Corsi,
Here.
Councilmember Shoemaker,
Here.
Councilmember McDaniel,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Boger,
Here.
Councilmember Lindsay,
Here.
Councilmember Greenlee,
Here.
Councilmember Wagner,
Here.
and Student Representative Bischoff.
Here. Okay, are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll proceed with our first opportunity for public comment. We have some members of the public here. Do you have any comments for us? I guess not. So moving on to the consent agenda, we have items A through F. Workshop minutes of January 25th, 2016. Council minutes of January 25th, 2016. Accounts payable checks 68714-68839 totaling $394,880.35. Payroll checks 9786-9790 and V17668-V17741 totaling $459,002.28. Agenda Bill number 0916, setting a public hearing on the Parks Capital Facilities Plan, and Agenda Bill 10-16, set public hearing Transportation Capital Facilities Plan. Is there?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, when we talked about pushing those off of the workshop agenda, I meant to say that we were also pulling those items off of consent, and all of it will be back in 2 weeks.
Which two?
E and F.
E and F.
We're pulling E and F. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I ask unanimous consent that we approve consent agenda items A through D as in Delta.
Without objection, so ordered. Any no new business? This is our second opportunity for public comments. It's going to be a real short meeting.
A couple things to talk about, I guess, under Mayor's report. Following up on that exec session item that's not an exec session, I have some more information.
Sure.
And then the council, I think, wanted to talk about the emails.
That was the property sale
Yes.
on W Street.
Right. So I will put on the screen the Clark County GIS. It's a little nicer to see than the map that we had. So the blue square is the tract. It is called Tract D of Summer Slope North. It was dedicated along with some other tracts to the city, and it was part of required open space for this subdivision. It was there was some PUD element to it. However, there was more open space than was required. So there's an excess of open space, if you would, under the current codes. And Public Works, when Mr. Hoffman approached us, and including the council, about taking this property off of our hands, and the council was acquiescent to that, if you'll recall, and so we've been proceeding with that. Public Works reported to you that that was not necessary as open space. In our parks portfolio, there's other open space amenities in the vicinity. It's not necessary for us. It was never to be a park, it's open space. But again, it's excess open space, it's not required. Our understanding is that in this plat alteration, what would happen in the plat alteration is the Hoffmans, who are there, would incorporate this into their property, and it would become theirs. It's no longer would be open space. Their immediate plans are to have a play structure and incorporate this into their yard. It wouldn't necessarily preclude them from short platting that or doing something with that in the future. But not aware that there's any intention of doing that. So it's property that we feel that we can surplus, and based on your very informal direction previously, when Mr. Hoffman was here, we've been proceeding with him, but it's getting to a point now where it's time to really formally undertake the proceedings, including him applying for a plat alteration. There's a fee associated with that, obtaining an appraisal that would cost him to do that. So he wants to have some confidence that the council's still on track with him to let him take this property off of our hands before he proceeds.
Jennifer?
I have a question about due diligence on our part as far as the other neighbors that are sort of around that property as well. Do we know if really what we should be doing is offering it for sale
So he-
publicly
Right. So he
before
was-
we grant someone a done deal?
Right. He was required to go into the homeowners association because it's a plat alteration, and this plat is for this subdivision, and get approval from the neighbors and from the association to do this, and so we have that. So we did that due diligence. Is required before we could alter the plat to take it out of city ownership.
Did you really have a conversation with them?
My understanding is he's got signatures.
Because it looks, it looks kind of odd.
It'd be an interesting shaped lot.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, Michelle?
So along with what Jennifer says, is there a normal sale of city property that goes online somewhere or through the county or something like that for things like this, or?
We can sell the property in any commercially reasonable manner, which would include a negotiated sale.
Okay.
You could do it as an auction. It's any commercially reasonable manner.
Yes, Joyce?
What is the value of the property?
We don't have an appraisal yet, but we have an informal understanding based on your previous direction that whatever the property appraises at is what we would
Does the
accept.
assessor has a value on it.
Oh, the assessor has, well, no, because we own it.
Oh, they would still assess. They would still put a value on it. It's not going to be zero.
Zero.
Really? Huh.
That's why we need it. Well, I suppose we could, if they had assessed it, well, it's open space, so I don't know what an appraiser will appraise the open space as, but it's not going to be open
Well,
space.
Parkland appraises for something.
Right, but when it's sold to him, it will no longer be open space. So we have to make sure it's appraised for what it's worth.
Yeah.
So it will always be a buildable lot for him after it's purchased?
Well, what's happening is he's going to incorporate it into his lot, so it won't be a separate lot.
He won't be able to subdivide it once it,
Well, he could.
Yes, he could.
okay.
You could short plat it.
He could short plat it. That would be a short plat. I'm thinking that you can, based on the sizes of lots that I see there,
He could subdivide it even more than once, maybe.
how do you get to it?
Is there a way to get to it from the
Off that main
southern end?
We're not going to allow access there.
So
That's,
it's basically undevelopable.
it might be, yes, I don't know how you could get a flag in there. It might be undevelopable.
That main street to the south, you can't access it from there?
I- you can see here that we have not allowed access there until you get there. So, well, potentially we would. We did not allow access there except for this street over here, closer to that. I would have to ask Rob what our standards are in that vicinity and whether or not we're allowing access there. We've got a pretty good-sized intersection right there. I can't highlight the intersection, I don't think. No. So I don't know if we would allow driveways that close to that type of road, but I could find out, so it's possible.
Well, someone else could come into ownership of the property, and they could decide to subdivide it.
He could sell it to somebody else.
Right, I just wonder if there is a concern about holding him to doing that, we could put a covenant on it, or something like that, that requires to
could.
be accessory to that other.
Right. That would affect the value, but we can negotiate that.
I'd be comfortable with that. The amount of money here is not huge, especially with no access, and so I don't have a problem putting a covenant on it.
Yeah.
So
Yes, Jim.
do we know if his neighbors, which house is it that's looking to purchase the property? That one? Okay. Do we know if his neighbors to the left of him and south, on the others, yeah. Do we know if they've signed the homeowners agreement, homeowners association agreement?
It's my understanding, but I will double check. I don't have the signature list with me here.
They're fully aware that the property might go to this gentleman?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
But I
Well, a
will
lot of
double check.
times you're in a neighborhood and you've lived there for quite a while and your kids have played on, in an open space, and then all of a sudden it belongs to your neighbor and he puts up a fence. And it's like, oh, well, my kids have always played there, I thought it was open space.
That's right.
So,
And it
I think
looks
that's
like,
why we asked, yeah, exactly, and that's why, partially why we required him
to do the plat alt.
to do the plat alt and to get all these signatures for that. But I will find out in precise detail if these individuals specifically signed.
Well, it also seems that those other houses have, to the, I guess, the west, have pretty small lots. No, just the ones that are abutting the property in question here.
yep.
They have pretty small lots, and I think they might like an opportunity to have a little bit bigger lot.
Potentially.
Looks like they fenced, this one has fenced,
Outside his property line.
well,
Yeah.
those are not highly accurate.
Okay.
They're not precisely accurate, but looks like that one's fenced. I can't really tell. Can't tell if there's one there or not. Doesn't appear to be one there.
So anyway, I would want
I'll find out.
some buy-in from the neighbors.
I believe that we already have that, but I understand completely, and I will verify it and double check. And if we do not have that, we won't bring it back.
And then there's another house to the east, so,
Yeah.
yep.
Basically, all of this. But I think we've got more than that. I think we've got, the subdivision has signed off.
The homeowners association, but usually they're comprised of board members that may not live near that
Yeah, it
area.
could be the ones that don't abut the
No,
property.
Yeah.
but maybe I'm not saying it
And-
clearly. I think we got signatures from members of the homeowners association, the individual members, not just the board and not just the action of the board. But I will confirm that for you and won't bring it back unless we have that. And a covenant.
Okay. I guess this is new business. We're under?
Yeah, and that's it. It was really more of a report.
Mayor's
Okay.
report.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Joyce?
When you were going to address the letters that we received about the sidewalk on Crown Road that Councilmember Michelle Wagner received, you said you had more information for us on that?
Right. As you know, Crown Road is on our capital facilities plan, or as a reminder, Crown Road's on our capital facilities plan, but it's not ours. And right now, it's entirely either Camas or Clark County, depending upon where you're at, even though we abut some of it. So responsibility for improvements and maintenance of Crown Road are not ours. However, it is immediately contiguous to our city, and our constituents travel on it, so we're greatly interested in it, and that's why it's on our facilities plan, as well as the counties, as well as the city of Camas's. To place sidewalks on there, it would be a county project with maybe a little bit of Camas, because Camas has it from the southern boundary of the school, and I think the sidewalks to get where they need to go would need to traverse the school property as well, because the access is more toward the north there. So we will certainly make sure that our colleagues in Camas and Clark County are fully aware of the concern of the principal and our constituents who live in that neighborhood. We've been planning to meet with them in a broader sense about Crown Road and all of it, not just sidewalks, but the road as well. And so this would catalyze us to do that. We'll have that conversation. I did speak with Pete Capel from Camas, and he was interested in, let's look at this and see what we can do. I haven't had a chance to talk to my colleague or the Public Works Director at Clark County yet to have that conversation. So News at 11, we'll make sure that we front this advocacy to our colleague communities and see what we can do. I guess a question for the council ultimately at some point here, it's not our facility. Safe Routes to School comes to mind. They don't mind seeing joint applications, but a question for you ultimately, not right now, but someday, sooner or later, would be, are you willing to invest city funds, the limited funds that we have, toward grant match for Safe Routes to Schools in partnership on a road that is on our perimeter but not our responsibility? That'd be a question for you at some point. Similar type of a question on Evergreen toward Jemtegard. You've had expressed interest on a safe route there all the way from, wherever, it's called the intersection of Evergreen and 32nd or beyond. And we're, piece by piece, we're accomplishing that with grants from TIB and Safe Routes to School, but there's a big chunk that's in the county. The last part, as you go to school, the first part as you leave the school, same question, are we willing to financially partner with the county even though it's the county's responsibility? So we're actually going to talk about that project in 2 weeks in workshop. We'll have a workshop presentation on Evergreen Way, transportation improvements on Evergreen related to Schmid Fields, the bus barn, and the new school projects, and what kind of transportation improvements are or are not going to be part of that project. So you can just be thinking about that.
He brought up my point on safe schools.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, mayor's report. Well, I'm not the mayor, but I did go to AWC, met with a number of legislators on getting our funding moved from the overpass to Highway 14. I think it went very well. I think it's likely to happen. That's all I have. Anybody else? Let's start with Dan. You were up there too, weren't you?
Oh, yeah, EWC, very interesting. Yeah, you got almost compliance from everybody except from one legislator. But I guess he'll be sold on the idea by Miss Rivers, maybe, so.
Dave.
2 items real quick. First item is, I don't want to vote against the capital facilities plan because I think we need it, but I've got some concerns about some of the projects on there that would turn some of our city streets into another road diet resembling E Street with its 2 lanes, one each direction, with a center turn lane and bicycle lanes. Not in favor of that, never have been, probably never will be. I don't know how to register that concern, but I'm hoping the staff can help me out with that. I'd mentioned that to Trevor this afternoon and asked him to pass it to you. And I don't know when that'll become an issue, but I'd certainly like to register that concern.
Couldn't you just move to delete those projects?
Yeah, potentially. We're workshopping it in 2 weeks and setting a hearing for March 14th.
That
So-
might be the time to raise those concerns. And I don't want to see the projects deleted because we need the projects, but I do have these concerns that I'd like to air.
Okay.
Second item, had a meeting last Friday with some transportation-dependent businesses. Among them were Exterior Wood, Humboldt Redwood, and Schmidt and Sons. And the three of those also represented another business, forgotten the name of the pipe outfit over in the port. But all of these businesses have one thing in common, and that is that they use large trucks. Some of them large numbers of large trucks. And at the meeting, we developed a kind of a thumbnail estimate that Washougal puts roughly 20,000 trucks a year on the road, on the highway, out of Washougal and the port. And the concerns were, is the roundabout going to serve that need? And so they aired their concerns. The city was present at that one. They've brought the staff. Trevor was there, Charles Robb was there. And I stayed afterwards to find out from the political side what their concerns were so that the staff wouldn't have to be involved in that. And I think they were perfectly happy not to be involved in that. But I wanted everybody to know that there are real concerns from people who have these 120-foot rigs. That's a trailer plus a half another trailer. It's 120 feet long by the time you get the tractor on it. And they've got real concerns about how they negotiate corners. I would point out that they're doing a great job at this point. When they come out of Addy Street by Exterior Wood and turn right to go up on the highway, they use the left turn lane for traffic coming the other way, but they do not extend beyond that left turn lane. So they manage to make that turn without cutting into the traffic that's coming toward their nose. I'm impressed. With a 120-foot rig, that's not the easiest thing to do. But they've got some concerns. Those are now registered. They've been factored into the process, and the staff is working on how to address them. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Jennifer?
I don't have anything, thanks.
Joyce?
I just want to say that going to Olympia was very interesting and rewarding, the reception that we received from all the legislators that we did meet with. They were kind and listened to us and let us speak our piece. And again, for the most part, they were very supportive of the project that we were advocating.
Paul?
I also was in Olympia, and I wanted to mention that Jennifer was also. I don't want to short her on this. This is amazing. This is the first time that I have ever seen a real commitment by the Washougal City Council to take days out of their lives and go up to Olympia and be part of this process. This was terrific, and I want to thank all of the people who were involved, including the staff. Dave Scott took several days off. Jennifer Forsberg took several days off. The mayor was up there. This was a great turnout and a great evidence of commitment to the city. I've been here, going to be 9 years in April, and I've never seen a council that committed before. I want to thank them all. And then briefly, I will not be here for the next council meeting. I will be out of town. If it becomes necessary, I can certainly attend electronically. I will have Wi-Fi. It probably won't be fast Wi-Fi, but let me see, what was the other thing? Unite, the Washougal Community Coalition, we are deeply engaged in the moment at getting our application together for a federal grant. It's called a DFC, or Drug-Free Community Grant. It's $125,000 a year for 5 years. And then you can apply for a second 5 years. We can always use more help. So if anyone is interested in Unite, Unite is a prevention coalition. It's about preventing, especially in youth, but in the broader community, use and abuse of alcohol, tobacco, and drugs, and all of the problems that are associated with that. So if you're interested, you can Google Unite Washougal, and there's both a Facebook page and a website. That's it.
Michelle?
Yeah, I just have one thing. If the PED bike improvements do end up staying on the capital facilities plan, that we would extend that up to the school there as just something that we're looking at for the future. And that's it.
Caleb?
Just on the Unite thing, my folks at home are trying to get a couple people to be more involved in that. Like, so that's it, I guess.
Thank you.
And I apologize to the public. I think I skipped over the second opportunity for public comment. Anything come to mind? Okay. Any other business to come before the council?
Move we adjourn.
Hearing none, meeting's adjourned. Haven't done that in a while.
Thank you, Caleb.